every single
TyBob
time.
has a really good job.
Look,
His it's like if you're in the top 40 in his ranking, you have the best odds of winning it, and the only team left to do that right now is UConn.
Yeah, good team. It'd be. I mean, I'd say this out of the four teams that are left, right, or the whatever, however many
The
teams are
Final
left. I
Four,
don't care.
yes.
Is it the final four? I didn't remember if it was a final four or elite eight. I don't pay attention. Uh, I think Miami wins it.
You think so?
I think Miami wins it, dude. I don't know. I've watched a couple of K State games and bits and pieces here and there. I listened to
the
some.
only game I've watched was Mizzou versus Providence. Mizzou couldn't stop anybody from getting the cup, dog. Their
I'm
defense was
surprised.
piss poor.
Welcome to Mizzou.
You know, we have pretty much the whole like assistant coaching staff from Florida State from a couple years ago. That's what Jig was telling me at Corey Baker's wedding.
Really?
He's yeah.
Hmm.
And he's looking for head coaching jobs and he's gotten like offers from like teams that like not quite qualify for NAIA, so like lower division basketball.
That's still good
But
for him, man.
he's pushing for something a little bit higher than that.
I mean, he's been doing great down there. What, Florida College?
Florida College, yeah. I don't know how much of that is him. Trust me, like the team's doing well,
Yeah,
but
but he's still a part of it.
good for his resume.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it takes. Resume
If all
builders.
if all he can do is implement the same fucking system, like
Now, during the NCAA tournament game on, I think it was Saturday, we had a situation very similar to how the Super Bowl ended. I don't think you guys, neither of you probably watched it, did you? It was Creighton versus Florida Atlantic, I believe. Florida Atlantic guy drove to the basket. Creighton guy had a elbow on him, pushed him. They called a foul with 2 seconds left, less than that. So it was essentially the same thing. Like, why are you going to call a foul in that moment?
I don't think it was FAU.
Whoever they played, whoever they lost to,
FAU played K State.
and they beat K-State. That is correct. FAU. Who's the other team in the Final Four? Miami, UConn.
SDSU.
San Diego State. Yeah, San Diego State. That's who they were playing. They were really pissed because the game was going to come down to that. And I feel like it's the same thing. You got to call a foul if there's a foul there.
how bad was it? I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Probably
I
ticky
mean,
tacky. I've seen like tweets about it on Twitter, but I have not seen like video or anything.
it
So
was a little ticky-tacky foul, but he got beat and you had your elbow on him the whole entire time he was going up and coming down. Clearly a foul.
Yeah.
You got to call it in that situation. It's a shitty way for the game to end, but you got to call it.
Did he miss the shot?
He missed the shot, but he got free throws. Put him up
Right. So I
one.
mean, San Diego State could have had their own grounds to complain on. They didn't call the foul, we missed the shot, and they went down the other way and scored or something like that.
I don't think they would have scored there because the time was going to run out no matter what if they didn't call a foul, but
But they would have lost,
kind of
I
kind of
guess.
overtime.
Ah, well, shit. Maybe the ref should have
obviously,
let it go into overtime.
yeah, that would have been cool. We've only had what one overtime game in the tournament so far. That was K State, Michigan State.
I believe
A
so,
hell
yeah.
of a game. And obviously, Michigan or not Michigan, FAU is having probably the run of the tournament so far. I think the team of the tournament has been K State. Honestly, the story behind that team. You've got an under 6 foot point
It's the
guard.
story for you because it's right next door.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't care about basketball. I am not a K State fan by any means. I think it's just the neatest story because you've
The rest of
got.
the country don't care.
I mean, they don't. They don't. But I think it's nobody cares about the team of the tournament either. Nobody ever cares about the team of the tournament. It's always about the blue bloods. The team
Well,
of the
There's no
tournament is
blue
always
bloods.
some.
well,
But
UConn.
They're
the
not a
team of
blue
the
blood,
tournament
though.
is always one of the smaller teams that makes an improbable run, regardless I mean, K State was a 3 seed, but you've got the point guard who's I think under 6 foot
He's like
had
5'8".
19 assists against
Yeah,
Michigan
but
State.
he's catching a lot of flack for trying to make noise during somebody's foul shot.
I never understood that. Like, quiet down for the free throw. Who cares? Let him be
It's
as loud as you
golf.
want to be.
But the coolest story coming out of Kansas State outside of Noel was Keontae Johnson, the kid from Florida who had the heart issues his freshman year. I think he was a top 5 player in all Division 1. Had to stop playing for 2 years, and then they gave him the opportunity. They said the doctors came back and said, you can play. Not like you're perfectly fine now. We've got everything corrected. And the NCAA said, well, you can either decide to play or we'll give you like I think it was like $3 or $5 million is recompense for insurance for the injury. We'll pay you millions of dollars to cover that issue, and you walk away from basketball, or you forego the money, and then you'll also have to hit the transfer portal because Florida legally is not allowed to take you back for um, obviously the health concerns. Um, and he said, I'm foregoing the $3 or $5 million. I'm going to hit the transfer portal, ends up going to Kansas State, and is easily one of the best players on the floor throughout the tournament.
That seems so like conniving, like corrupt bullshit. NCAA.
That's what they do, man.
Mm-hmm.
NCAA is just extremely
I don't
corrupt.
know. They're just trying to pay a player to leave the sport. Like I don't know.
No, no,
It
it
just
was
doesn't
no, no,
seem
no.
right.
It was basically like the insurance. Like, hey, you had this injury. The insurance here is the insurance to take care of you since you were playing a sport associated with our league per se, and we're
But
covering the
then
insurance
telling
costs
him
so
he
that
can't play basketball again.
I mean,
Not
that's
for
the
them.
you not for the NCAA. You can leave and you could try and go play professional, but you wouldn't be allowed to go back into the NCAA and play because that would be like, hey, you're taking this money for the injury type of deal.
Well, I'm
It'd
glad
just
he
be
didn't
like
because that just doesn't seem
yeah.
right. That just seems
I mean
seems
it'd be
odd.
just like if somebody's on a team in the NFL gets an injury and the team goes, "Hey, we're going to pay you your injury separation, you can continue to play in the NFL for another franchise." But
It's not. That's not the
That's not the
same.
same at all.
well,
The NCAA is telling him you can't play in this whole nationwide freaking association.
but it is run different. The NFL is
I know,
when
and
you
we
go
don't
to
like it.
go to
The
another
NCAA is
team.
corrupt.
They are, but it as a whole, it is like one is an umbrella versus when you look at the NFL, even though it is the league, the franchises are run completely autonomously, individually. You go from one employer to the next employer.
Right.
You don't work for the NFL, whereas the NCAA, even though it is a team, you are still all NCAA.
Well, that was a great feel-good story for K-State, but they're out of it now. And I want to change our attention to UConn versus Miami. What
Probably
a
one of the
great
better
matchup
games
that's going to be.
in this tournament.
You got
What a great
Miami,
matchup.
their coach, Coach L, which is a stupid name to go by. Hard to say his last name. I don't want to try it right now.
Larinaga.
Laurinega, but
Yaga. They pronounce it different on the Dan Levitard show because Larinaga.
why do they pronounce it differently on the show?
Oh, because they well, it's a
Is it
Hispanic
just
last
Miami
name.
based?
It's well, yeah, they're Miami based. He's a Miami coach, but it's also a Hispanic last name. So instead of they pronounce it
Is he
with
Hispanic?
yeah, Larinaga is Yaga.
Have you
It's
heard it
all.
pronounced differently, Sean?
That's how I
I mean,
just hear it on all the sports
if
stuff.
you listen to the Dan Levitard show, he pronounces it for you.
I'm just saying,
Sports
how do
Center,
we know
man.
that that's correct?
Well, anyways, this is his second ever Final Four. Do you guys you guys probably have no idea who his first Final Four was, do you?
Not a
Cinderella
chance.
Story, 2007, 2008, roughly.
Nope.
Green Team, ringing any bells?
Boston College.
They're red, I believe, but
Damn.
George Mason. Remember that run? It was like the
No, I don't.
first time in my lifetime that a 9 seed ever made it to the Final Four. And ever since then, it's happened more and more since then.
Yeah, we've had ones beating 16s, twos beating 15s. I mean,
I think what
15s
we're
beating
seeing
twos.
this
I
year
was going to say that happens all the time.
I think this year we're going to see is like the start of the trend of not consistently seeing the Blue Bloods make it to the final stages of the tournament. We're gonna with the leading of the NIL and the transfer portal, I think we're gonna see a lot more chaos and a lot more even keel when it comes to basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last few years. It's been more competitive, and there's teams with lower seeds making the Final Four. And maybe not even just the Blue Bloods, but like there's no number one in the Final Four this year.
No number
So
1, no number 2, or no number 3.
you
First time ever.
making your brackets, you don't just count the number ones as locks because it used to be that way. Every number one seed went to the Sweet 16 just about at least. Like the number one seeds, the best regular season basketball team usually does the best in college basketball. And now things are more up in the air than they have ever been. The talent pool, players are getting more athletic, more dynamic, and better just in general.
And the NIL deal right there. Some people are going to realize that they can't make that money in the NBA. They're not going to go professional. They're going to stay in college longer just so they can get that money. Because Miami basically is paying for their players this year, coming out and saying it. They got somebody on contract for $800,000.
They pay them. Their boosters are literally just handing them money.
Yeah, NIL, man, it's all out in the open now.
It's awesome. It'll be cool. We've talked about it, but we'll bring on Josh Caraway a little bit later on in a few months, and it'll be really cool to be able to speak to an actual coach in football. But we'll be able to speak to an actual coach who deals with that on a daily basis at the Division I level, and be able to kind of speak to what's going on with NIL deals and how it's transforming. Moving on, because the cool thing that we're seeing, and I think more so in basketball than we are in football, but right now in basketball, a lot of the kids are young men are deciding to stay longer in college ball instead of foregoing, their remaining 3 years, because they're actually getting paid more playing college ball than what it would look like on a rookie contract in the NBA
or overseas.
Yeah, or the G League. College basketball is becoming a little bit better of an option than it was in the past, and that's good for the players.
And shout out to women's college basketball, Caitlin Clark. Did you guys hear anything about that?
A lot of tweets, but I haven't watched any of it.
Dude, she is
Pat Mahomes gave a shout
phenomenal.
out not too long ago, right?
Yeah, she is the best college basketball player, men's or women's, this year.
The funniest tweet I think I saw is like, whoever's guarding Caitlin Clark on Sunday needs to start guarding her on Saturday.
First ever 40-point triple double in NCAA tournament history.
Wow,
men's or women's.
That's tight.
She is player of the year.
That's difficult to do.
Better than Sabrina Ionescu.
Yeah, yep. Definitely better. At least
Who she play for?
She plays for Iowa.
Iowa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Sabrina Ionescu. And who she played for in college. Sorry.
Just another instance of you shouting out something so confidently and you're wrong.
He knows ball, man.
You literally just said Sabrina Ionescu. I was just following up on that question.
Yeah.
Guy.
My guy.